Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for February 3rd, 2020. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up picking up a nice winner in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes' interception, which was available at plus 110 on DraftKings. Line was just too much value if you actually just think about it conceptually. 49ers defense, despite choking in the end, did have one of the best turnover forcing defenses in the entire league, and Mahomes is going to throw the ball roughly 30-something times. So one interception seemed a bit, I just didn't think it should have been plus money. I think it should have been somewhere around minus 105, minus 110, give or take, based on just the amount of opportunities there were going to be. Mahomes threw a pick and then even threw a second one, and he was able to pick up a win. We were able to pick up a win. Mahomes able to pick up a win. Pretty much just worked itself out perfectly. But overall, in terms of my thoughts on the Super Bowl, props to the Chiefs for getting it done. Kyle Shanahan choked again. Not really much else to say there. People are going to blame Garoppolo, and I think that is reasonable, as he was definitely not good enough to come through in the clutch. However, I think that play calling by Kyle Shanahan was absolutely dreadful in the fourth quarter. Especially on I forgot what exactly it was. I believe it was 20-17. It was right after the Chiefs scored a touchdown. 49ers got the ball back. They hand off first down for 5 yards. And then they called back-to-back passing plays. The whole thing made no sense. Shanahan he learned nothing from his choke job with the Falcons, and then he cost his team another Super Bowl. So, either or, props to the Chiefs, props to Andy Reid, but for the 49ers, that's a tough one. And Kyle Shanahan, if he doesn't end up winning a Super Bowl anytime soon, he will go down as probably one of the bigger chokers in NFL history. Just something to keep in mind. But in terms of today's play, now that football season is over in the NFL, we're going to be looking at the NBA, and there is a matchup that I like in particular that possesses a lot of value. And that will be a matchup between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. And the play of the day will be on the Miami Heat minus 2.5, which is available on FanDuel at minus 110. And that game should be taking place at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, the main reasons why we like the Heat in this spot, first of all, the Heat at home are just they're just an absolute tank. They're 21-3 at home. Philly's been terrible on the road. They're 9-17 away from home. And Miami's only laying 2.5 here. I think that line is a bit too short. The reason why the spread seems so low is because of the fact that these two teams have matched up very closely to one another when they've played this season. This will be the last meeting between these teams in the regular season. Philly won the first meeting by 20-something at home. Then Miami won the second meeting on the road by 4. And then Miami won the third meeting by 1. And that game will end up going to overtime on that miracle putback free throw layup by Ben Simmons in that game. But Miami ended up holding on for the win. But if you've looked at how Philly's played lately, really unimpressive. They lost by double digits to Atlanta on the road. Then they played Boston without Kemba, and they lost by 21 on the road. And meanwhile, Miami, even though they lost to Boston by 8 at home in their last home game, they were able to bounce back and beat the Orlando Magic on the road by 13 in their last game. Philly, ever since Embiid came back, something's not right with this team. I mentioned how much I don't like this team during the course of the season. Now I think that I just think that it's laughable that they're actually considered a potential threat to win the Eastern Conference. They're just not that good. It is what it is. On paper, they should be a tremendous team, but if you've actually looked at them in terms of just how they play in any 48-minute span, they're really just not an elite basketball team. There's no other way to put it. Embiid and Simmons can't coexist. They can't shoot. Richardson's now out, so they're out another shooter. Horford's been pretty good, but at the same point, the spacing's completely messed up with him, Simmons, and Embiid. And now they have to take on Miami, who is the deeper roster and who also is pretty much unbeatable at home, and they're laying 2.5. I just don't have much faith in Philly to win this game. The fact that money has come in on Philly is a bit questionable to me, but if you actually just looked at the actual lineups, Miami's fully healthy back again. Harrow is finally healthy. Nunn's healthy. Dragic is healthy. Everybody's playing. So based on that, I have to feel confident in Miami's ability to get another home win. Philly has pretty much everybody healthy as well, except Richardson being out. So they ended up inserting Shake Milton into the lineup. And yeah, he wasn't a starter for a reason. He's a pretty mediocre to slightly below average wing player. Horford's decent. Embiid's great whenever he wants to be great. The only problem is that he's never consistent enough to do it on a regular basis. And Simmons is solid. But this team can't shoot. I expect Miami to go to a zone defense once again like they do all the time, and Philly's going to have no answers against the zone, and I expect Miami to win this game by at least 5 points. So play of the day once again will be on the Miami Heat minus 2.5, which is available on FanDuel at minus 110, and that will be the play of the day. Now looking at some of the leans on today's card, I'm going to stick with the NBA. First thought here, I'm going to lean to Cleveland minus 2 against the Knicks. New York opened up as a 1-point favorite, currently been bet down to a 2-point underdog. Decent amount of people are game time decisions. Randall might not play, Morris might not play. If one of those two end up not playing, then I think you should see the Knicks struggle. I know Morris is currently battling some type of illness, so it's likely he will probably miss the game. But as a whole, Cleveland stinks, New York stinks, but anytime I see a 3-point line movement and a switching of favorites, I have to lean to where all the money's poured in on, so I'll lean to Cleveland on that one. Other than that, I think the Nets line is a trap. I'm not really a big fan of that. Phoenix is playing the second night of a back-to-back, but Brooklyn now is going to be without Kyrie. I mean, they've missed him for pretty much the majority of the season, but he suffered another knee injury, so he will be out for this game. Phoenix got embarrassed yesterday against Milwaukee, but pretty much everybody gets embarrassed by Milwaukee, and now the Nets will look to try to bounce back after losing to the Wizards and losing Kyrie for at least a week. I think that's kind of a trap line. I think Phoenix has a shot to win that one, so I'll personally stay away from there. Other than that, lean to Sacramento minus 1.5 against Minnesota. Both those teams are also terrible. Minnesota has been awful all season long. I mean, you know how many times I've bet against them so far this season. They did play each other last week, and Minnesota in that game blew, I believe it was an 11-point lead with about a minute and 5 seconds to go, which is... It's honestly impressive. I'm not really sure how you blow that big of a lead. I forgot what exactly it was, but you have to look it up. I tweeted about it like a couple of days ago. It was an epic collapse, and now they're playing in Sacramento. I think Minnesota's going to lose. I just don't like this team at all. They bring nothing to the table, and I think Sacramento, even though they have underachieved at 18-31, Fox has played really well lately. Bogdanovich is still a solid player. And overall, I just think Sacramento's the better overall team, so lean to Sacramento minus 1.5 there. And that's pretty much it for my thoughts on the NBA. Actually, I'll give out one more. I'm going to actually lean to the Pacers here, minus 5.5 against Dallas. Everyone knows that Doncic is out. I mean, you have Oladipo back for Indiana. Is Oladipo fully healthy? And partially, but I know that he's on a huge minute restriction as they're going to try to keep him healthy moving forward. I know TJ Warren is not going to be playing as he's Indiana's number one scorer as he is out with a concussion, but at the end of the day, without Doncic, Dallas is just not the same team. Indiana, even though they are going to be missing Warren, Brogdon is still a tremendous player. Miles Turner is still a solid center. And Sabonis, I don't think anyone in Dallas can guard Sabonis. Sabonis is an all-star for a reason. He is tremendous. I mean, he's averaging 18 and roughly 13 per game. He's absolutely rolling, and it's nice to see him take a step forward after signing that extension on his contract. But overall, lean to Indiana there. I think they should be able to win that game by around 8 or so. So lean to the Pacers there. Now, talking about college basketball, looking at today's card, decent amount of somewhat high-profile matchups in conference play. I mean, you have North Carolina against Florida State. North Carolina stinks, but on paper, that sounds like a really good matchup. Cole Anthony is back for North Carolina, but they lost to Boston College anyway in his first game back. This team's just not any good. I said it before during the beginning of the season. I didn't think North Carolina would make it to the NCAA tournament. Now I'm not even sure if they're going to make it to the NIT. They're that bad, but 9.5 is a lot of points here. I'm personally going to pass on that one. You have Texas and Kansas. I'll lean to Kansas here, minus 14.5. Spread seems very high. It partially is for a conference matchup, but something with Shaka Smart and Texas has not gelled. And Texas have really just not looked good lately, and I think Kansas will be able to take care of business. This game could turn ugly. I think the spread's high for a reason. Lean to Kansas on that one. No rush to bet it, though. I expect more money to come in on Texas moving forward, but I think Kansas should be able to cover. And other than that, you have Baylor versus Kansas State. I'm going to lean to the under there. It's at 125. I know money has come in on the over, but based on how Baylor plays his own defense and how Kansas State loves to play a very slow style of offense, I think that game should be very low scoring. I think one of those teams is not going to get to the 60s. I think one team will be in the 50s. I think this game should go under. Lean to the under in that one. But the play of the day, once again, will be on the Miami Heat minus 2.5, which is available on FanDuel at minus 110. That's going to be the installment of Scott's Selections here for Monday, February 3rd, and good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.